pages in Hamilton.
Whether you need them back in weather place.
Mine's 10 years old.
Maybe I should be.
You want to read them?
Yeah, absolutely.
Excuse me, just a reminder. Okay. Good. You said I have conflicts with this, but
Air traffic. Yeah, that'd be great. She could just shoot the line. Because I'd love to. They're doing a story tonight.
Thank you.
Great comment.
Got that too.
Yeah,
It's great. I mean, it goes in trust.
Yeah, we get that all done.
What he
How you feel over there, Mike?
I'm next to the seat of power. It's a good place to be.
kind of you, very kind of you.
They got caught.
I know it's a transition. I still have to pay the bet, but
I just remember.
There's something was missing. I brought a different bag because I wanted to get the judge. Oh yeah, the books. Passing the books around.
No, we went
Christopher Worley.
John Hayes is running late. How about Eddie?
Eddie's here. Yeah.
Today,
I could call this friend.
on my son, I asked
Yeah, we're there.
When you
live on the 9th of July.
Very nice. Well, you have so much.
Thursday would be better.
We do.
I know this place.
I know, that's, you ready? You ready?
Yeah, I'm just gonna wait for Eddie to load his plate up. Good morning, John. Glenn, how you doing?
Another great day.
Good seeing you. Well,
I'd be any better if you.
why do the days like beautiful days have to be board days?
I don't know, but I looked at the agenda. Mike Dowd would have this meeting done in 30 minutes.
I'm giving it, yeah, well.
Very good.
Wow.
Movie
Well, everyone's like in suit and tie.
All right, Eddie, once you sit down, we'll get ready with a pledge of allegiance. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the June meeting of the Lehigh Northampton Airport Authority. Good afternoon. I'd like to start with a pledge of allegiance, please. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. That went well.
We're off to a good start.
I was telling the judge I'm reading Alexander Hamilton's book right now, so I can also recite the preamble to the Constitution. I got that.
Go ahead.
I got that going on, which is nice. We the people, right?
Makes today's politics look nice, doesn't it?
You know, not much has changed at the end of the day. My
Kind of full circle.
read on that. But, some of the issues are different. Okay, so that roll call.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Brian Dames. Chuck Diacon.
Here.
Mike Dowd.
Here.
Frank Facciano.
Here.
Glenn Geisinger.
Present.
John Hayes. Larry Hemberger.
Present.
Ed Lozano.
Here.
Jeff Matskin.
Here.
Glenn Reedman.
Present.
Ted Rosenberger.
Here.
Mike Schwer.
Here.
Matt Turk. Chris Worley. Tara Zirinsky. Here. We have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. Any public comment today? Bob? Okay, thank you. All right, hearing none, we'll move on to the committee reports, and I understand John Hayes is either caught in traffic or running a little bit late. So Todd, you're going to handle the treasurer's report, I understand?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we need approval.
We need approval for minutes. See, I told you, you're going to kick me in the...
So moved.
I need to read the book on parliamentary procedure first before I... Okay, regarding the minutes, can we get a motion for the approval of the May minutes, please? So moved. So moved. Second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, thank you. Motion carries. All right, Todd, now you're on deck. Thanks. I'm not sure, but I'm not getting any dirty looks, so.
Just kind of going through the treasurer's report for the month of May. Again, last year was our phenomenal year, probably the best year we've had in a decade or so. So when you compare this year to last year, you got to remember last year was an exceptional year, but we're still holding up pretty well. Budget, we budgeted $79,000. Net income, we're at $273,000. Keep in mind that we put in our accruals for the airline. We did that in May of last year, and we did it again this year. When I say accruals, I'm talking about we're in partnership with the airlines, so it's kind of a break even for landing fees, apron, and the terminal. So if we do well, we have to get money back. If we don't do so well, we can ask the airlines for money. Last year, we gave $643,000 back to the airlines. Last year, around May, we accrued approximately $400,000. We're accruing about $250,000 in May this year. Not quite as much, but again, that's money we anticipate going back. So that's not reflected in the revenue. Because I see Frank looking at me. You're sitting next to Mike Swear. He's an accountant. He'll give you the 411 on that. Okay.
Things very well. Even I can understand.
Oh, okay. I feel good about that. You can go to the next slide for that. Year to date, again, we had a conservative budget. One of the things we did this year in our budget to kind of smooth out our monthly financials is to put in our pension accrual each and every month. Again, there's that accrual word again. We have a big number, roughly $900,000 that we pay for our pension, and that's in September, October, around that time frame. So rather than have that big expense then, we kind of accrue it each month, so it's a lot more smoothing. So that's in the budget, but it wasn't in last year's actuals. So again, we're doing much better than budget, even with that accrual.
The people that are in the defined pension program, do they have an option for the 401K as well, or either or?
We have, right now, we have a defined benefit pension plan for employees in the non-union prior to 2018, and in the Teamsters, fire, and police. We have a 457 defined contribution, your 401, the 401K, or the municipal version of a 401K for our new hires in the non-union plan, and also employees can contribute to that plan as well. They also have a 401A, which is and also a defined contribution plan that all employees are entitled to. So they're in both worlds. So all that together is about, just for the defined benefit, was $900,000. Traffic, again, we had a great number. You can see best number since 2011. We're already over 300,000 year to date. Great stuff. You see that flow through in the parking numbers. We really had a good month, good year so far in the parking. And again, parking is one of those, not a lot of expenses, but it's really our biggest revenue producer when you figure about the net. Just kind of touch on some highlights here. Net revenue, again, parking, ground handling. The ground handling includes our cargo operation and Allegiant. Benefits, some of those defers and hires. And the one thing I want to point out, we had a really rough snow this year as far as events. We spent about over $100,000 more than budgeted, and we still have had a pretty good year to date. So I think the cash is last. So that, again, we've been monitoring the cash. Beginning cash is about 94 days cash on hand. I want to remind us back to 2013 when we had 3 days cash on hand. Not a good number, 94 a lot better than 3, so we're monitoring that at the bottom, and we're trying to stay above 60 as a good, internal number for ourselves. Any questions? It's always good, okay.
What was our average last year on cash on hand, just ballpark?
Cash on hand, we were, I want to say about 105, 110, somewhere in that range.
Okay.
Our cash is going to go down some because of all our investment in our capital projects, but still, we're at a healthy number on our current ratio and on our cash. Finance people should keep the message short when the finances are good. So, any questions?
Amen.
All right.
Well, one other thing, I just have a question, not a question, but just do me a favor, elaborate on, and maybe this is also, Tom, for you, we had really challenging times with the legacy carriers last year. This year, we're seeing some really nice growth from them. Allegiant continues to grow, but all of a sudden, it seems like there's a turnaround on the legacy carriers. Is there anything that, you see that is driving that trend? Because now it seems like it's a trend. It's been a few months consecutively that we've had consistent growth from the legacy carriers.
Sure. You want to address that, Tom?
Sure, I think one of the things we've had American, for example, had an additional flight to Charlotte that they added to their route. So we saw some activity from that, for sure. We also know that in American's fleet, they've eliminated the use of the Dash 8 turboprop. That's been replaced by the regional jet, 50-seat regional jet, so that adds additional seats back into some of those city pair markets that we have. And so I think that's what we're seeing is, some of the upgauging of aircraft. We're moving from some of the 50-seat regional jets to 70-seat regional jets. So, additional seats in the market. And the great news is, as you're pointing out, is that those seats are being filled. So, absolutely.
Okay, so that's good to see. Thank you.
Sure.
Any other comments, questions? Okay, then I look for a motion to approve the treasurer's report.
So moved.
Second? Second. Glenn, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, carries, thank you. All right, Finance and Capital Planning, Mike Schwer is the new chairman, and Mike, hand the ball over to you.
Okay, the first thing we dealt with yesterday was the approval of the Crowe-Horwath agreement extension. As everyone knows, they're the people that do our outside audit. I think we've been pretty happy with them in general, both staff and board. We got our report back this year, I think, earlier than it's been since I've been on the board, certainly. So they've been doing a good job. The extension would be for 2 years, and after that, then we'd look to put it out to bid. Todd, anything you want to add to that, or?
No, I wanted to point out, we did a formal RFQ 3 years ago, and one of the things that the board really was adamant about is we wanted an auditor with some airport experience. So they brought that, and they kind of give us some industry knowledge that you can't really get from some of the local firms because they don't deal with a lot of it.
Okay, any comments?
Todd, they're from Denver? Where are they out of?
I was going to say Chicago. Illinois firm, but I think the office is
Indianapolis.
Indianapolis.
I couldn't think of it off the top of my head. Indianapolis.
We don't have a firm locally that has the experience we're looking at.
Right, good.
Okay, any further comment? And I'd look for a motion for the approval of the 2-year agreement extension with Crowe-Horwath, LLP.
So moved.
So moved. Second? Second? All in favor?
Jeff.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carried. Thank you. Mike?
Okay, the next item we dealt with yesterday was the approval for a maintenance permit at Braden Airport with Atlantic Airmotive. I don't know if someone on staff wants to jump up and give a...
Sure, I can walk through that quickly. So this came out of our marketing efforts we've been doing down in Braden to attract some businesses. We're 2 gentlemen breaking away from the company they currently work for to form their own company down at Braden, provide aircraft maintenance. They're going to provide avionics, and I think plans to kind of continue to expand once they're up and running. But it's a 5-year initial term, $1,000 and change a month, basically the same rate that we're charging the flight school per square foot. So equitable there. They have one 5-year extension. All the lease has everything. Contains all of our standard insurance indemnification provisions and such. And then also do a little incentive package with them. Asking for approval not to exceed 10,000, which would be a combination of rent credits and some facility improvements that they're going to need done down there to get up and running. So, answer any questions anybody has about it.
No questions. This is a big deal for Braden.
Yeah, it's certainly the next logical step for Braden for sure, and I think this will help us as we continue to try and rebuild and bring the pilot base back up down there and get the tenant base back where it needs to be. So.
Yeah, I agree, Frank. I think it's a good story to tell, right? The investment's starting to bear some fruit. It's going to take time, and attracting tenants, more aircraft, fuel sales, the multiplier through all that should be a positive influence over the next year or so. So
absolutely.
It's good.
One quick question, if I may.
Sure.
You mentioned our marketing efforts to get people in, which is great. Okay, do we have a plan in place to market the fact that these people are not here?
We'll have to change it up a bit, I think, once we get them up and running. I mean, I think the initial is going to be a bit of a kickoff down there. We'll do ribbon cutting, all that for them and the flight school at the same time, and kind of an open house, and then a marketing plan behind that as well. Yeah,
That'd be great.
Reach out to, get back out to the pilot community, let them know that Braden's kind of back on the map and staying on the map. So,
Do we have an estimated time frame for that then? Or
I think it's going to depend on some of the facility improvements we need to do for these guys, because we really would like to get them in there and running before we do anything, so we do everything at once. I'm thinking, yeah, I mean, they're ready to go as quickly as we can move. I think they want to move. So, yeah, I would hope that by the end of summer sometime we'd be ready to do something.
Great, thank you.
I think too, to add on that, Glenn, the existing tenant flight school, ProFlight, has done a good job. They're up and running. And Colin, can you add anything on the filming of the PBS special?
Yeah, so PBS local station here, PBS 39, went down to Braden, and they are doing a half-hour show on chasing the aviation dream with one of their reporters, who basically was expedited through a process of learning how to fly. She, of course, says that within the piece, but she actually took a flight lesson, and we also got her to L-Tri-C to get in a flight simulator. So really a great opportunity to showcase aviation within the Lehigh Valley and what we're offering here through Braden, through L-Tri-C, to the airports. So that'll air towards the end of the summer, possibly in the early September, but I will keep the board notified when that is going to air and get that word out there as well. But really exciting to have that sort of story out there.
Thanks, Colin.
That's great.
Thank you.
So at yesterday's GA meeting, we discussed Braden, we discussed these things we're discussing now, and Colin, regarding once the maintenance thing is in place, we have the flight training, we talked about some better signage out there to make sure people know it's open, to scream that it's open, and then between this video footage and so you are putting together a marketing plan, print, media, social media, right?
Yeah.
And that'll all launch at the appropriate time.
Yep. Yeah, I think it's one big kind of snowball now as we get going here, so I think this is good.
Thank you, Darren. Appreciate it. Any other comments regarding Braden? Thank you. Okay. Mike, go ahead.
Never mind. No. I was going to say we did move and pass it, so never mind. I was kind of unconscious for a second, so.
Okay, so we need a motion for the approval of the maintenance permit with Atlantic Airmotive at Braden Air Park. Move second, Mike. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you. Mike, back to you.
Sure, and I'll turn this one right over to Todd. It's approval of the Series 2018 Airport Revenue Bond, and I know we had a lot come in today, so Todd can fill us in.
If you remember, I think last month before, we approved financing with BMO Harris for a $10 million hangar loan, contingent upon bond approval, bond council approval, our solicitor's approval, and obviously our trustee's approval. So we have that. We're going to be moving forward with the resolution. It's scheduled for closing on Friday. We won't know the final rate until tomorrow, just because of the closing process. It's still based on the swap rate. It's swap rate, 10-year swap, plus 231 basis points. That's what it is. We've got
Five and change?
Yeah, it's been around that 5.3 to 5.4 range. That's
Long end of the curve's not moved a lot since we talked about it last month.
So it hasn't changed much. The continuing covenants in here, Again, we've had all the appropriate approvals. We discussed this. This is going to help us with the Hangar 11. As you remember, this is a $16 million project. $6 million is coming from grants, and the other 10 is coming from the loan from BMO Harris. First 2 years are interest only until we kind of get the tenants up, and then the last 28 years are interest and principal. Any questions, concerns? Yes.
Todd, yesterday you were explaining why we went the taxable bond route versus the non-taxable, and I think that might be...
Okay, that's a great question. One of the things, the taxable rate, tax exempt rate is a little lower. Our initial review based on bond counsel was about 10% was qualified for tax exempt. Rather than do the process twice, because it's a lengthy process, you actually have to go out to the public and actually let them know that you're doing something tax exempt. So what it delayed the process probably about a couple months. So what we decided to do is wait till we know what the tenants are, and then we can refinance those bonds to tax exempt. So we have a clause that we put in the bonds to be able to refinance up to 35% after the first 12 months. So that's roughly where we are hoping to get close to that number, and then we'll convert part of our existing 10 million over to tax exempt at a lower rate. Does that answer your question?
Thanks.
Any other questions? Judge, did you want to chime in?
The bond was prepared by our attorney,
Yep.
Kevin Reed, our bond counsel. He prepared it, he scrutinized it, and he's indicating that this should be adopted by the authority. Is that
Correct. Yes, that's correct. Okay. And just so you know, we've had multiple folks reviewing this. We've had bond counsel, the judge has obviously been involved. We brought in our financial advisor just to kind of look through the stuff that helped us with our last bonds, just to make sure we had an extra set of eyes to make sure we got everything right. Because $10 million is $10 million, so we want to make sure we get it right. So, any questions, concerns? And again, I said closing is scheduled for Friday.
And Todd, groundbreaking?
What's groundbreaking?
July.
So late July.
Ceremony and,
Yep.
Correct.
I have participated in the discussions about this. Now, as to the actual text of the bond, I've just received it. I will be reviewing it this afternoon. If I
Okay.
catch anything, I'll
Okay.
certainly notify the executive committee. But I'm confident, given the fact that Mr. Reed's our expert, that everything here is appropriate.
Right. And you're going to have to make a final closing opinion anyway as part of the document, so, and that has to be done on Friday anyway.
What's the latest construction schedule? Groundbreaking July, and how long a project is it?
10 months.
10 months, about 10 months?
So basically next summer is when
Yeah.
the revenue will start.
Any other questions, concerns? Thank you.
Okay, hearing none, I'd look for a motion to approve the Series 2018 Airport Revenue Bond Resolution as prepared. So moved. Second? Second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you. Tom, Director's Report?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As we mentioned, we had an excellent May, 24% increase in our passenger traffic, so we continue to see that trend, as we talked about, including the legacy carriers, so very encouraging numbers we're seeing. In terms of, since our last meeting, we have our TSA PreCheck Enrollment Center. That's carrying through since last week, and that'll wrap up this Friday. So if you haven't gotten your TSA PreCheck yet, it's still open now, currently? Yes. So runs through Friday, so you can still do that.
I have a friend of mine who asked regarding global entry. We still have to go down to Philadelphia for
Philadelphia
that.
or Newark.
Any chance to bring that here? Would there be enough of a market to make it worth it?
Probably not, because it's really focused on the international travel component.
Because I've had the same question from a lot of people as to whether
The
they...
global entry.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's really where you have the customs presence. Yeah. So I think that's part of the challenge for us.
Okay.
Sure. Did want to mention on June 13th, Paula Bonstein, who is our manager of customer experience, received the Spirit of Tourism Award for 2018 from Discover Lehigh Valley. So it's a great honor for her. She's been with the organization over 20 years and has done a remarkable job with our customer experience efforts here at the airport. So just wanted to make mention of that to the board. On Queen City on June 16th and at ABE on June 18th, we had Ageless Aviation Dreams Foundation here. They provide free flights to seniors and also U.S. military veterans in open cockpit biplane. And so it's just an opportunity to honor them. So they were here providing those flights. Really neat experience, and we had a great time being part of that. So we did post some videos on social media if you're interested in taking a look at that. Also on June 16th in Whitehall, we had a Touch a Truck event that we participated in. Our maintenance staff brought 4 of our large pieces of snow removal equipment, which are pretty unique to an airport. So we got those over to Whitehall. Lines, from what I understood, 15 and plus deep just for our equipment to see those pieces of equipment climb in them. And so a lot of families and children in attendance, and a lot of fun. So we appreciated an opportunity to be in the community to do that. On the 21st, we did attend the Eastern Pennsylvania Regional Freight Summit. That was 4 PennDOT districts that were sponsoring that event, and that was held at Lehigh University. So a lot of different players from different modes of transportation in the freight industry, but great opportunity to talk and network at that event. In terms of upcoming events, there will be a temporary flight restriction in effect this weekend. So there will be that in effect for Braden, so more details to follow on that. We do have in August, our annual airport emergency plan review and tabletop exercise, and that'll be the 20th at 7 p.m. So that's an annual requirement for FAA and TSA. And then last but not least, we did have a press conference announcing all this, but I did want to mention again, our Queen City 75th anniversary celebration will be Saturday, August 25th from 4 p.m. to 10 p.m. There will be a fireworks show, so it should be a great free event for the public. We're inviting a lot of folks out to that, and all the proceeds will go to Pennsylvania Wounded Warriors, so any donations are available for the Pennsylvania Wounded Warriors. So that's really the report I have. If there's any questions, be happy to answer those.
Wait.
Not a question, but just a comment on the Queen City announcement. That was incredibly well done. Yeah, anyone that was there saw it. It was fun to be at, and hopefully a good indicator of what the event's going to be. And I'd just like to thank you and Colin and everyone on staff for putting that together.
Team did a great job. It was a fun press conference. Thanks for being there, John. You know, we had a number of Frank was there. We had a number of board members in attendance, so we really appreciate the support. And
the singers were a nice touch.
The singers were a nice touch.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
So great.
And
Thank
the
you.
wheel.
Yes.
Tom, just a question. We've been, for years, looking to build traffic and get back into some of the higher traffic years we had.
Sure.
Is that causing you any challenge, as traffic continues to go up, is it causing you any challenges internally?
Well, I think certainly one of the things we've seen is some challenges now. There's new screening procedures in place for the TSA. And so across the country now, anything larger than a cell phone comes out of your bag, the TSA is going to look to inspect that. I think we've done a good job with TSA to communicate that, but the screening process does take a little bit longer. So increased travelers plus additional screening procedures means a little bit longer times through the checkpoint. So I think that's one of the things we continue to work with TSA on, to see how we can expedite that, take advantage of the TSA pre-check process and the pre-check lane here. But we do have some challenges with our checkpoint. That's probably the choke point here in our terminal facilities. So I think that's going to continue to be a conversation to see what we can do to improve the process.
Any other comments for Tom? Okay, thanks, Tom. And we'll move on to Judge Friedberg, Solicitor's report.
I have a request for a very brief executive session to discuss litigation matter. Has to be brought before the board.
Okay, I have a motion then to go into executive session.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we're in session. Kyle, let me know when you're ready to... On? Okay. All right, welcome back. We're going to propose a motion to authorize a lawsuit that we discussed in the executive session.
Before we do that, during the executive session, we discussed two matters relating to litigation wherein it is anticipated that complaints will be filed.
So as a follow-on to the judge's summary, I move that the solicitor is authorized to file suit against Northeast Aviation, Inc. and GSE or US for defective equipment sold to the airport authority.
I second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, Ed.
Thank you.
Okay, any new business? Last item on the agenda. Any new business?
Oh, yeah, I only had one question. I was just thinking when we talked about the events at Braden, one of the neat events we had last year was the movie. And I thought it did a lot to build community relationships. I know Sal Panto said he'd be more than happy to provide the screen and all the equipment to help, but I wonder if we would think about doing that again.
You know, I don't know that we had anything scheduled for that
I
there.
mean, our plan was kind of to do one event at one of the airports every summer. So
Okay.
Braden was last summer, Queen City this summer. I think we'll actually probably look to go back to Braden next summer and then maybe do something at AB the year after that. So probably not this year, but we definitely want to do it again because I agree it was a great event.
Is
So,
Equilibrium still proposing a?
they are doing the polo match.
again
That
this
is
year?
on the schedule down for Braden
When is
again
that,
this
September?
It's in September. I don't remember the exact date, but
It's been September.
we'll make sure
get
Ray
the
gets the
date.
date. But
Okay.
yeah, they are definitely doing it again, which is another great event down there. I think that's
Yeah.
always pretty cool. So.
Darren, to that point, just what would prevent us from doing it annually? Because I can understand on a larger scale, it's very time-consuming, demanding, et cetera, but on smaller things that are community-related, that are very popular, like the movie nights, is there something we can do on an annual basis, or you don't think, we have the resource, or?
Yeah, I'm certain, I guess we can. I think part of it too, though, down there, every time we close that airport, which that is a total closure, we've got to go back to the state and ask for permission to close it and everything else. So I think that's another piece you probably don't want to go to that well too many times. So we close it annually for the polo match. And now we'd be closing it annually another time for that. I'm not 100% sure whether that's an issue, but certainly was something that was raised last year when we did close it as to, they don't love sort of closures for non-aeronautical events,
I understand that. I was just thinking Northampton County, we really was the one that made this, all the things at Braden possible. And I think they were looking at the airport as a community resource. So I think it's something we at least ought to consider, not.
We can look into it again for this year, and see if it can be
Time the
done.
movie with the traffic restrictions, whenever the president comes up to.
Well, the airport's not closed.
That's a good idea.
The airport is
Can Sal get the screen over there this weekend? Let's make it happen. Let's see how spontaneous we can be.
The airport's still
It'll be
open when those
95
restrictions are in
degrees,
effect, so.
The other thing I was just going to suggest, that we talk about our facilities, and I'm not sure that a lot of our members have been to Queen City or been to Braden, and I think at some point, before the weather goes sour on us again, that we might want to think about having some meetings at the various GA airports.
That's a good idea. Okay, any other new business? Okay, with that, a motion to adjourn, please. Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, enjoy the weather. Thank you.